This week's video game showcase is Conflict Desert Storm, released in September of 2002 on the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox, and also is backwards compatible on the Xbox 360. This squad-based co-op shooter has you going back to the early 90s during the original Desert Storm, where you and up to 3 other squad mates repel the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. Strap in for an exciting game. Conflict Desert Storm.
Go, I'll hold them off.
Alpha 2, priority message. The Emir's emergency beacon has just activated at a marketplace 200 meters to your west. He is in immediate danger. You must get to him now. Control out.
Thank Allah you came. So you are the allied soldiers I am to meet, yes? You must get out of the city quickly, but Iraqi forces are everywhere. thought you forgot about me.
Listen, I just had a run-in with a T-62 up on that overpass ahead, and the whole area's crawling with infantry. The bad news is, we have to go that way to get to the LZ.
And through the power of editing, here we are. We're going to take a look at Conflict Desert Storm. Now, my particular copy here is the Platinum Hits version, which I don't mind getting these. But for the original Xbox anyways, they came in these platinum colored cases. And basically, it was a game that sold well enough to be able to be sold at a cheaper price point. And this was a pretty common theme back in the day, even up to more recent times, but I feel like it's kind of a less of a thing now with the newer generations here. Looking a little bit into the back here, see players 1 to 4, and of course you have your memory card slot there. And I'll try to get some of these screenshots in here as well. Now, this game was made for the PlayStation 2 as well as the GameCube. The GameCube one is pretty good. The Xbox version is the best version to play. This is the definitive way to play the game for a couple of reasons. PS2 isn't bad if that's the only way that you can play this game. It's still worth playing. I think this is a very fun game, especially if you can get a couple buddies. But that's where the GameCube version and the Xbox versions are better, because this actually allows for a 4-player co-op where each person can control a person in the squad, where the PS2 version only allows 2-player co-op, and you have to switch between. You always have 4 players in your squad, but you have to, if you have 2 players, then you're controlling more than one character. Whereas on Xbox, each character can be controlled at the same time for 4-player co-op. And let me tell you, when you can actually get 4 people playing this game, that's when it shines. It's fun even on single player, but that's really where it shines. So we're going to get right into it here. And hopefully this new camera angle is a little bit better. You can let me know in the comment section whether I should go back to the old way or continue this format here. We'll see how this works here. So we have a great manual here. As you can see, it is pretty thick. So even during the original Xbox time, we were still getting nice thick manuals. Even in a platinum hits for copy, we were still getting the full manual here. So you can see it's in great condition. This particular copy itself is in good condition. I can't remember if I ended up buying this one or if I ended up getting it in a mystery box. It's quite possible that I did. So let's get right into it here. We have our table of contents here. Nothing too crazy. And of course, how to set up the Xbox. A little bit more on the in-game controls, menu systems. And you can see there it's got the original, I believe that is the Duke style controller there. Very, very big. All right, and then a little bit continuing on with the controls here, and then it gives you some options here because it is a single player game. Like I said, you do get control. So the less players that you have, the more AI/control you're going to have over the other characters, because you're always going to have it. And then they do have a training mode to just teach you how to play the game. I wouldn't say the game is overly complex, but the way that they have it set up with the different characters, and they have special abilities and things of that, it really does add a lot of flavor to the game. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in here. I'm sure it'll pop up. All right, and if you're not familiar, this does take place in the original Desert Storm. Just talking about the weapons evaluation course. So if you choose to go through the tutorial, it's just showing you some things like that there. A little bit more here, more training. So this is definitely a good manual to have back in the day, because if you're on the ride home, you could read up all about this and possibly skip the tutorial. I kind of like the idea of there being a separate training mode, instead of just jumping into the game and kind of being forced to get into these tutorials, because sometimes you don't want to do that. So it's great when you have games like this, where you know how to play the game and you just want to get right into the action. And this game definitely does get right into the action if you skip that training mode here. It's talking here about off-map support. So there are going to be times where you can pick up certain weapons, laser-guided weapons that'll call in airstrikes and kind of cool things like that. So it's just kind of explaining that. And then it's also got a commanding a squad, because, like I said, the other players, if you don't have human players, They are going to be AI controlled. You can control each person individually, so you can switch amongst the four uh, soldiers. However, if you don't, if you just want to play as a particular, like the rifleman, you can do that. You can just be the rifleman or just a sniper, and you can give commands to the AI, which they're pretty good in this game, so they're pretty competent. But you can give them individual commands as well as group commands that you can follow. So it's kind of giving you that as well here. And a lot of times you start off with a wide variety of different types of weapons and accessories. So it's just talking about the med kit, which is going to be very important in this game because there are difficulty spikes in this game. So you are going to use your med kit, especially when you're first starting out with this game and kind of learning the ropes. Because you're going to come against tanks and armored vehicles and different types of soldiers with different types of weapons. So, you know, sometimes you're going to get blown to smithereens and you're going to need a med kit. And it's just explaining a little bit more on this page here how to use the med kit, because you can use that med kit to heal yourself as well as healing your fellow soldiers as well. Now, the one thing I will say about this game is there are definitely some certain characters you want to keep alive because you have different soldiers that have different abilities and what they're good at. So you have a rifleman who's good for on the assault, as well as a machine gunner. You have a sapper who isn't as good offensively, but is good close combat and also holds your C4 and some of the explosives that will be important in later missions. And then, of course, it has, after all the training modes and things of that, you have your Desert Storm campaign, which is based on the 1990s Gulf War there against Saddam Hussein, who had invaded Kuwait at the time. And so you get to play as the coalition forces. It does give you a choice, although the choice is just skin related. You're not going to get any different special abilities. It's strictly just skin based. So you could either play as the US Delta Force or the British SAS. However, the unit types are going to be the same. They're just going to look a little bit different to match the color schemes and camouflage that those units were using back in the early 90s, which is pretty cool. So if you bought this game out in Europe and you want to play as the SAS instead of always playing as the US, you can do that. Because as you know, Desert Storm, it was a coalition force that went in there. So there were other countries that were participating in this. This is more squad based. It is smaller battles, so it's not like you're going into a town and you're fighting a huge army, although there's some scenarios where there's a good amount of units. But typically in this game, you are dealing with certain objectives that are based more on a smaller squad. So things like taking out Scud missiles, maybe taking out a radio outpost, or things of that nature, or rescuing a prisoner and escorting a VIP target. There'll be things like that you'll be doing in this game, and it's a lot of fun because the maps are pretty open for the most part. So especially if you got 4 human players, two guys can kind of go off and complete objective A while the other half of the squad is completing objective B, or you can all work together, which is typically what I would recommend. And if you're a guy that likes to play, or a girl that likes to play as a sniper, and that's what you want to be, and you can provide overwatch for your squad as they're running across wide open land, and you can provide cover for them. There's just so many ways to play this game. It's a blast. It's a shame that we don't get these kind of games anymore, because it really is. Here on this page here, it's just talking about these kind of mission objectives. Your health, your soldier, the control panel, and things like that. And interesting note here, because your progress does kind of carry over. So based on what ends up happening to your soldiers, it'll carry over. So that's pretty cool. And it says all killed in action soldiers are replaced with rookies in the following mission. So it's wise to try and keep your initial squad alive, because new soldiers will not be as skilled as battle-hardened troops. And we're going to talk about that. It's another pretty cool feature. So you're based on how well you perform in each mission, your character does level up, and they do gain promotions, and they do gain new skills. Typically in skills in the sense of better accuracy, aiming, and things like that, as opposed to a new type of ability, which it's not that kind of skill-based system. But you'll be more proficient in shooting your rifle, more accurate, maybe a little bit longer distances, and things like that. So this here is just talking about, your aiming cursor, ammo, clip. It's just kind of telling you what's happening on the screen and what they do individually. Your compass, radar, just kind of telling you. And there typically is, every mission, there is an objective map. So here's an example, and it does show you the locations of where everything is. I would say for this game, it's fairly accurate, the subjective thing here. So very rarely are you going to get lost. There may have been one or two missions where it took me a little bit because it didn't show the exact location of where the objective was, but it was kind of in the ballpark. But a little bit of trial and error, you eventually get it here. So just talking about pausing the game, saving, and all the different settings that you can do in the options, such as music and sound effects and things like that. Nothing too exciting here. But I can assure you the game itself is a blast, no matter where you play it. But like I said, the Xbox version is the definitive version for this game. It plays better, it looks better. It allows 4-player co-op, whereas the PS2 version only allows 2 players, and it suffers from pretty poor frame rates at times here. All right, so here it's just talking about targeting, picking up objectives, different types of equipment that you can get, such as grenades, C4 charges, which are going to play a pretty vital role in this game. Very, very important that you have your C4 and you keep your explosive expert alive, because he is very important. And things like tank mines are also important, because there are a lot of scenarios where you are going to come up against enemy tanks. Luckily, though, typically these you can find some RPGs out in the wild, and the cool thing is you can pick up enemy weapons that's kind of lying around. They don't typically drop stuff when you kill them. And in fact, I don't think they do. So if you kill an enemy, but there will be like encampments and barracks that you'll find where there will be plenty of ammo and RPGs and things like that. So the next page here is actually talking about those medals and promotions. So this is going to be the key reason why you would want to obviously keep your characters alive during these missions here, because they're going to get special promotions. And I apologize for the glare there. I'm trying to keep the glare out of it. But every mission, they're going to get promotions and medals based on how they performed. So obviously, if you're playing single player, the character that you're using is most likely probably going to get more of these awards. So it may be smart to kind of switch it up at times, just to kind of get the experience levels for the other characters. And then it's a blast again if you're playing 4 players and you're all just always going to play that one specialist throughout the whole campaign, and then you're constantly leveling up and improving your character. which is pretty cool. Unless you end up dying in one of the missions in which you'll be replaced by a rookie. It reminds me a lot of XCOM, right? Where there's a permanent death in that. So this is also doing a similar thing if you die. All right, and over here it is just talking a little bit about the ranks and promotions that you can get based on whether you are the UK Special Air Service ranks and then the US Delta Force ranks. Now, of course, I am biased. I did serve in the Army myself, obviously in the US Army, so I typically always play as the US Delta Force. But like I said, it's all it is a skin. It doesn't make a difference whether you play as the UK or the United States. They do the same exact thing. They're just going to look different and have different ranks based on the real world ranks that you see here. And then right here, it's talking about soldier experience, soldier skills. So kind of like a, wouldn't really say an RPG, but I guess a third-person shooter RPG in the sense that you're going to get these soldier skills and soldier experience. Now, the one thing about this is it's not in the sense where you get points and you get to allocate those points. It's automatically given after each mission, and it'll tell you what skills were upgraded. And again, it's really dependent on how you're performing out in the field and how you're doing in that particular mission there. All right. And it is, it's going into a little bit more detail into the soldier skills here. And all the different types here. I'll try to get it. They're the exact same on the top here. So you can see there's rifleman, pistol, combat engineer, sniper. So each class of soldier has a different type of skill set here that you can see. So you have your rifleman, your sniper, your heavy weapons, and then your demolition expert. And then you can also see what type of skill levels that they can gain. So you can see here that the rifleman is always going to be able to get a higher rifleman skill level because that is their classification. Whereas the demolitions expert, you know, do a little bit better in combat engineer and then as well as a medic. And then of course on the next page here, it is talking about that cooperative play mode, which is really the best way. I mean, if you can really get a couple people to play this with you, preferably 3 other players, that way you get a full squad and eliminate the AI completely. It is a blast. I've had a couple of game nights where this is what we ended up playing, and it was an absolute blast. And then it's just giving you some hints. Like I said, there are times where this game does have some difficulty spikes, but it's really not that bad. It's a blast to play. Highly recommend this game, and it's very, very cheap. And then on the last page here, it is just going into a little bit more detail on the different types, the rifleman, the heavy weapon squad, combat engineer, and of course the sniper class there. So a good mix of different types of soldiers here. And then of course we got our credits. And then that is it. We'll see if there is a, all right, so we got a couple of advertisements here. So coming soon, Carve, get ready to rush. I have never heard of that game. It looks like a jet ski type game. Kind of like Wave Race. But never heard of it. So you're going to have to let me know in the comment section below if that is a game worth playing or not, or if you even heard of it. And of course here, because this is the Platinum Hits version, there you have it in advertisement for the second Conflict Desert Storm. And this is also, we'll definitely be featuring this in a future episode. because this is also a very, very fun game, and I do recommend this version as well. So very, very similar, just more kind of the same, a little bit more refined. Sometimes I'll pop this one in over the first one and play this one as well. So very, very good game, no matter which version you go with. And then it's just a continuation of the manual there, so you kind of get a full picture. So very, very cool. Very, very highly recommend this game. And it says no diplomats, no negotiation, no surrender. Conflict Desert Storm. Rated T15. So a very cool game. There isn't a lot of gore. I think there's a little bit of blood in here, but no types of gore where limbs and stuff will pop off, even if you get blown up by a tank or heavy weapons, things like that. So definitely appropriate for younger kids if you don't mind them playing shooters at all. So that is Conflict Desert Storm. What'd you think of this game? Have you played it? Have I convinced you to try it out? I hope I did, because this is a fantastic game that can be had on the cheap. Absolutely one of my favorites on the original Xbox, even on the PS2. If I own that version as well, and sometimes I'll throw that on, and I still have a blast playing on it, even though it's not the definitive version. This is the version that I do recommend that you pick up, and it's a lot of fun. So as always, I hope you like these kinds of videos. I'm going to try to do it every Monday. We'll showcase a different video game and just talk about it. And if I have any experience with it, some of these games I may not have actually played. But this one I've played many times. Owned it as a teenager. And a lot of nights playing this with my brother and friends. So this is a game that I have a lot of fond memories of as a kid. So very, very cool game. As always, make sure to like, and if you're not subscribed, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. This is a young growing channel, so I need every like, every share, and every sub to help this channel grow. And as always, happy gaming, and God bless.